Business Watch with our own Gloria Jane.
Thanks, Phil. And now we turn our attention to agriculture, where an unlikely personality has now come onto the scene in a major way. Richard Roman, a CEO whose company dominates the defense and aviation sectors, not to mention being a giant in the motivational speaking world.
What can I say, Gloria? I'm a multitasker.
Clearly. And now you've recently purchased controlling stock in Sucro Corp, among the world's leading manufacturers in high fructose corn syrup. It's a pleasure to have you with us, Richard.
Please, Dick.
So tell us, Dick, why the recent fascination with big foods?
Well, it's no secret we all love to eat. But now Sucro Corp will focus on eating well.
Help me connect the dots. How will pumping sweeteners into our system make us healthier?
One word: purity.
We're dialing back the additives to deliver the highest quality all-American product you people deserve.
America is for go-getters. Folks who get off their butts and make it happen. And we need you just as healthy as you can be. Which is why we are diving whole hog into what keeps Americans living longer and tasting better.
You do, of course, mean to say the food will be tasting better.
That's exactly what I mean.
What the fuck?
This is Dick Roman, the suave businessman who took over corporate America in season 7 of Supernatural, and he only had one goal in mind: turning human beings into livestock for his species Leviathan. His charm won everyone over, and the only people who knew exactly what he was were the Winchesters and their little clique of monster hunters, who never understood what his plan was until it was too late. Dick was smarter than the brute monsters that Sam and Dean were used to hunting, and by the time they killed him, he had already taken over government, media, health, and the food supply. Many people had already lost their lives, and the damage that was done was difficult for the world to recover from. Hi, I'm Abby Mover, and apparently TV writers have been making reality this entire time. Fast forward to 2025, where America is amongst the fattest countries in the world, and it has been for the better part of the 2000s. 70% of Americans are currently overweight, while 40% are obese. And to top it all off, they have decided to advocate for obesity as a lifestyle that should not be discriminated against, and calling out anyone who speaks out against it being unhealthy and fatal as fat-phobic. But the obesity pandemic is global, and here in Kenya, the rise of fast food chains in every single neighborhood has contributed to the spike of fatness in our society. And with the convenience that comes with eating out or ordering in, many households are opting out of cooking their own meals due to exhausting workdays. Up until recently, honestly, obesity was considered something to be ashamed of, and shows like My 600-Pound Life showed the rest of the world the reality that comes with food addiction and binge eating. We have seen one too many people getting so big that they become immobile. Others are in need of an oxygen tank, and most of them need a caretaker to even help them take a shower. What's also been a consistent highlight in the show is how food addiction is just as dangerous and as real as alcoholism or any other kind of substance addiction. This is because junk food, they have a lot of sugar, artificial sweeteners, fats and salt, and all these, when they're eaten, they trigger dopamine surges in our brain, similar to what happens when we indulge in any specific drug or addictive activity. Some people have even reported getting withdrawal symptoms like headaches and irritability, especially when they stop eating sugars and caffeine, which is found in sodas and energy drinks. There is also a lot of money that corporations spend on advertising these foods, even endorsing big celebrities and influencers to be their brand ambassadors, often labeling specific package deals under their names. And honestly speaking, when you see an influencer or a celebrity attached to a specific product, you're going to want to buy it. You're going to be at the very least curious, because even if you hate the celebrity, you really want to know if the product they're endorsing is worth buying, so that you have something else to hate on about them. And this sounds exactly like the plot from Supernatural 7th season, or exactly what Dick Roman intended to happen when he infiltrated the entire world's kind of entertainment scene, and also how people view food. But our reality goes a step further because now there's a surge of fat influencers who are extremely loud and proud about their weight. They fight for inclusivity in fashion and media, and they claim that they are underrepresented. If we go back to 2018 all the way to 2021, even till today, although today it has gone down a little bit, we'll see how they completely took over fashion. You would see Victoria's Secret models or runway models and all that stuff embodying this whole body positivity lifestyle to show some type of acceptance. And although it is a very positive thing to accept people as they are, what it has led to is tolerance of unhealthy habits. There is no difference between the tolerance of these unhealthy habits compared to the ones that were tolerated back in the 2000s. And the reason that they continue to fight for this representation is because they want to make sure that the average person feels seen and heard, because the sad truth is that the average person is now overweight, is now fat, and America and the world in general has become the society that Dick Roman dreamt of having. He and his Leviathan brethren, they would never go hungry in this world we're currently living in. There's too many people having so much weight, and more are becoming immobile and completely unable to help themselves in any shape, way, or form. And these Leviathan, they will probably be the proud sponsors of mukbang influencers who have normalized binge eating. Honestly, Dick Roman is probably real. I am convinced that he is real, even if he doesn't go by that name. That entity, that spiritual thing is real, and the Leviathan are currently feeding off of humanity in real time. When you consider the kind of food content that is favored by social media algorithms, the fact that they keep pushing out this content of people eating all kinds of unhealthy, disgusting things in your face, and it has become this whole space where so many people are making a lot of money. We have heard of people having their lives end on stream while they're eating because they've been overindulging a little bit too much. Isn't that a little bit horrific? It's so weird. And when we look at the history of the Leviathan, first of all, the Leviathan is a creature that has been mentioned in the Bible in the book of Job, and this is a sea creature that is similar to a crocodile. The spirit of Leviathan is actually the spirit of pride, and you cannot convince me that there is anyone who's prouder than a fat influencer, because they are completely convinced that all the health risks associated with their lifestyle are mythical. They've even gone a step further and tried to cancel or to demonize or vilify people who have tried to change their lives and make their lives better by losing weight. They think that it's more important for you to be a part of this movement than to actually stay alive. They forget that people are trying to be alive for the sake of their children, for the sake of their families. They need to fight for their lives here. That matters more than a movement, but not according to these people who are at the core of this movement. And the weird thing about this movement is that it's not just about making people unhealthy. It's a weird kind of degenerate proclivity that is geared towards bedroom activity that is just strange. There are people who actually enjoy this content, and they enjoy seeing these people get so fat and kill themselves in the process. They just want to keep seeing this fattening and this fattening. People have the weirdest preferences when it comes to bedroom activity. And the thing is that society has long been vocal about the dangers of extreme weight loss, and with good reason, because so many people were getting negatively affected, and the toxic beauty standards of the early 2000s, they were nearly impossible to attain. And though they caused real suffering, the backlash ultimately made it so much easier for victims to get help. But when we look at binge eating and obesity, there are far more domestic and pervasive effects, because entire families are affected, and it normalizes these patterns and makes them easier to accept. Just think about a child whose meals are prepared by an overweight guardian. They're likely to follow the same path. And when most households reflect this pattern, communities and society at large are reluctant to challenge the fatness culture that has quietly taken hold across the West and is even becoming pervasive here in Africa and even in the East. And when you also think about My 600-Pound Life, again, is the best example of how this pattern goes down the generations. When you look at the children, the ones who have children, the children of the person suffering from obesity, they look like they're headed down the same path. The partners, they are overweight at the very least. Very few of them look like they're an average or normal weight. Right now, when you look at My 600-Pound Life, most of the people that are around this person who's really big, that are enabling their behavior, are also this big. That's why you find that it's so hard for this person to stick on that diet, because the people around them are also addicted to food. They may not be in the worst space where their lives are at risk, just like the person who's actually the star of a specific episode, but they look like they're going exactly down the same path. Because the most successful stories on 600-Pound Life are the ones where the partners or the people who are enablers before actually are willing to go on this diet with the people who are basically starring in the episode, because you have that support system. But imagine that you have a food addiction, you're struggling to keep this diet and to remain eating like a few calories a day, much fewer than you're used to, but everyone around you has ordered junk food for dinner. Everybody around you is eating snacks, and you're just supposed to sit there. So there's a lack of support system, because it shows how pervasive this obesity and this fatness culture is, because nobody wants to stop eating these foods because they're addictive. And when you look at it on a deeper spiritual level, this acceptance of the fatness culture mirrors the myth of Leviathan, because the spirit of pride is known to feed on complacency and vanity, and it grows stronger as society turns a blind eye to the slow destruction it fosters. And the worst part is that everybody is joining in on this fatness culture, because I know that I personally have experienced it as being somebody who is skinny in a family of people who are a little bit bigger than I am. Everybody tries to make you feel like there's absolutely something wrong with you. But if you were to go to the hospital with these people, they will be the ones that will be deemed unhealthy, not you who is a little bit skinnier, because they don't want to leave the fast foods alone. They don't want to leave the junk food alone. They love to eat the sweets and the chocolates, and they like to snack on those fatty sugary things. They like to overindulge in energy drinks. And then let's not forget, a lot of these people also like to drink alcohol, especially here in Africa. And in many ways, the rise of fat positivity mirrors the old myth of Leviathan, that spirit of pride that consumes while convincing its prey that everything is fine. And just as Supernatural imagined a world where Leviathans fattened humanity into docile livestock, look at the world we live in today. We see a cultural force that is feeding on normalization and disguising excess as empowerment, and pride is at its core. There is a complete refusal to be corrected, even when people are backing the correction up with facts. And there's a turning of this weakness into an identity, because so many people have decided to turn this into their brand and a celebration of what slowly devours both body and spirit. Because look at My 600-Pound Life. Every time I see how this episode starts, even if they give them a script to go off of, like, I don't think that all these people are such brilliant actors that they can act out the complete despair and hopelessness that they have when they're showing us how their days go. There's so much hopelessness and despair in their voices. Even if they've been given the words to say, I don't think that they can fake the emotion that is behind those words, because their spirits are being devoured and completely consumed. And honestly, I don't know if this is real, metaphysical, scientific, or whatever, but I'm just thinking about all that fat layered all around you. It's completely constricting you, and it's probably also squeezing your spirit, because I mean, doesn't it just squeeze the life out of you literally? And like Leviathan, it thrives. Pride thrives because society no longer recognizes it as a threat, but instead embraces it as it progresses. Nobody thinks pride is literally the worst thing. When somebody is full of pride, trying to correct any kind of behavior is almost impossible. Like for a proud person to experience any kind of correction or transformation towards the positive, they have to be humble. And how exactly is a proud person going to be humble? And in the world that we live in today, it's so hard to humble people when everybody is thinking as a collective. When you have social media profiles where you can post all kinds of ridiculous things and you receive validation from people who think exactly like you. So your pride continues to grow and to grow. Imagine these people have millions of followers across their platforms, and they just have all these people reverberating the same messaging that is toxic and is completely fatal for them. It's going to be very difficult to completely penetrate that layer of pride that comes also with social validation that social media brings. And if we strip away the comforting slogans and glossy influencer posts, what remains is a culture that is quietly surrendering to a system that profits from our weakness. I mean, look at these people, all the medication that they have to be on. They have to be under so much medication. Do you know how much money they need to spend in order to be able to afford burial expenses? These are like forever patients, and there's a whole system that is benefiting from their weakness. The food industry and the health industry are basically two sides of the same coin, because what you eat basically affects your lifestyle and how your health situation is going to be. And we are completely just surrendering to this system that is completely profiting from this weakness that we're trying to call a strength and are so proud of. And the spirit of Leviathan, the thing about it is, it doesn't roar, it whispers. And it tells us that pride is freedom and that decay is acceptance. But true empowerment has never been about celebrating what breaks us down. It has always been about resisting what enslaves us. In today's society, we are celebrating depression, we are celebrating anxiety, we are celebrating all these negative things that are enslaving us and breaking us down completely. And to overcome this, society has to reclaim humility. We need to bring humility back. And it's going to be almost impossible to reverse the pride and take it down to humility, because everybody on social media who has a big following, ask them if they're going to give it up for the sake of their lives, for the sake of their health. You're not going to get a lot of positive feedback. We need to reclaim humility. Even the people who try to get humble when they decide that they need to take care of their health and lose weight and everything, when they find it so difficult to accept that the messaging they were promoting is wrong, because they're so scared of the backlash. They use terminologies like I am losing weight intentionally, or I am dieting intentionally. You're so scared of saying what I promoted was vile and evil and it's going to kill many people, because there's still that pride that you have, and you still want to have that position in society, because you're scared all these people who followed you are now going to cancel you, and you're basically going to have to start from scratch. Not many of them are willing to be humble, even if they change their lives. And there has to be discipline. There's a complete lack of discipline, because explain to me how you're eating so many plates of food at the same time. Explain to me how in one sitting you can be able to consume 4 eggs and chunks of bacon or steak and fries on the side, or whatever else these people eat. Explain to me how you can consume a large pizza by yourself. There's absolutely no discipline whatsoever. And we also need to learn how to reclaim truth, because then can we silence the Leviathan and rise above the tide that it feeds on. And truth is something that people don't want to accept. They don't want to accept truth. There's a complete denial of reality in the world that we live in. Everybody wants to create their own reality from their feelings and their perspectives and their emotions. That's what you want to make your reality. People even say that's your reality. There is no such thing as your reality. It's real or it isn't. And if we're not careful, like the Leviathan of old, pride will feed quietly until the whole sea is empty. Picture a world where 70% of adults are obese. Picture a world like that. Who is going to take care of these people? Who is going to take care of them? Okay? Who's going to be able to drag them out of bed when they need to go to the hospital? There are going to be fewer healthcare workers because most of them have decided to go down that route and they also need help. You know, the whole sea is going to be empty. There's going to be no one to take care of you. If your whole family is obese, all of you are immobile, or most of you are struggling to be mobile, none of you can cook, who's going to take care of you? That is the emptiness that we're looking forward to if we keep going down this road. And perhaps the real question isn't whether we can starve the Leviathan, but whether we'll even notice before it's too late.